welcome to the Bullpen. All right, in the Bullpen today, we have Mr. Peter Pischke. Let me do that again. Pischke. Did I say that right, brother?
Yes, you did. You got
it. Okay, finally got it. All right, sorry about that. So thank you for joining us. You are a well accomplished individual. You host the Happy Warrior Substack and podcast and writes for the Federalist. Interesting work. I saw some of your stuff. So we're gonna.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna chop it up. I disagree with it, but we're gonna chop it up about being woke and corporate America. All right, woke culture in corporate America. I don't want to presume what you know or believe about that particular subject. So if you would share your sentiment, and I would then opine.
Okay, that's fair. I think wokeness, when it comes to corporate America, in my personal opinion, it's an overall a negative thing. I think not just for people who are conservative or may feel like the culture is against them. I think in general it's a bad thing because wokeness covers up for bad behavior. Corporate America basically took it on post 2008, and then of course you had Occupy Wall Street, and basically the bargain was we're going to bring on some, we're gonna say certain words to make the activists happy. We're going to do certain things. We're going to donate to the right people. And we might forgive the term, put a few token members onto our boards. But now you can't complain about us. And unfortunately, the media and others have often followed through on that and being afraid to talk to these companies when they behave badly, when reform needs to happen. And so I think for Americans, besides like just how it affects our stories or how it puts people against each other, I think it gets in the way of a more honest conversation and fixing problems in society, in corporations out that needs to happen, and then we get all caught up in the diversity questions.
Okay.
Not that diversity questions are wrong; they can often be right to have, but that's my opinion on this.
What's your definition of woke? Do you know the definition?
Yeah, well, okay, so there obviously is a little bit of the pornography if you see it, but would use Andrew Sullivan's definition where wokeness, as we see in modern America, is basically justified bigotry as reparative justice. We're taking something that was wrong in the past and we're trying to fix it by doing something with equity now. So
that was a derivative. That wasn't a definition. That was basically a person's opinion of how the application of woke is used. That's one individual. Let me give you the actual definition of woke. Right. So one definition defines it as alert to injustice in society or societal construct, especially racism. Now, I want to ask you, do injustices happen in America?
Yes, of course, all the time.
Are you alert to them?
Many of them, most probably not. I don't.
Okay, but you are alert. You when you see an injustice, you are alerted. That's an injustice.
Yes, yeah. If I see an injustice, of course, it makes me mad. It bothers me. I don't like it. I want to see something different happen.
So you are also adversarial to actual racism in America, correct?
Correct, definitely.
That means by definition you're woke. Another definition of woke means alert to racial prejudice and discrimination. Are you aware that racial prejudice and discrimination exist in America?
Yes,
you're
obviously.
On the secondary definition of wokeness. Third, 90% of consumers actually prefer to shop with companies that are an expression of their values. I'm going to submit something that may be contrary to the narrative of most. These companies are not woke, brother. None of these companies are woke. What these companies are doing is catering to their base supporters. That's what they're doing. That's what companies have always done. And when you look at the, as you call it, woke culture, and you look at Coca-Cola, Home Depot, even the NFL, after they decided to actually fight against discriminatory actions, actually address systemic racism inside of their organization and in the culture, these agencies ended up making record profits during that fiscal year, and they continue to do so. Nike is included in that. Their stock prices were one of the highest of the year when they hired Colin Kaepernick, who was basically the poster child for wokeness in this country. So you can't make the argument that is not real because you just admitted these elements are real. You can't make the argument that they're not profitable. The science and the data shows it's actually profitable. And you can't really make the argument that it is somehow performative based on the reality that these companies make more money and they've been able to diversify their workforce. Now, should they do more? Yes, they should. Do some companies misuse it? Absolutely. I have an entire research background dealing with all of the promises that they made during Black Lives Matter and how they only fulfilled roughly 5% of those promises. So that's part of it too. What I'm saying to you, brother, is that we should not throw out the reality of corporations actually connecting to the sentiment and values of America because you may disagree with the premise of their particular belief. Because you do agree that corporations are able to have protected speech in these particular conversations, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so what's the problem?
The problem is much of it, unfortunately, it is performative. There are definitely companies where they are committed to it and it seems actual, but for every one of those,
I agree.
For every one of those, you have like a BlackRock or a Disney who will use saying, "Hey, we're on the team" as a way so that they aren't criticized for their bad behavior. Disney, of course, in one breath they would say, "Don't go to Georgia, don't film there. Hey, look at all the good things we're doing," and in the other breath, we find out that they're thanking the Chinese Communist Party and several groups that were running the concentration camps of the Uyghurs. And for some companies, it does work and people aren't bothered by it. I don't totally know why. Maybe it's because some things are more fungible than others. Like Nike is a definite brand, it's a fashion, so people are used to that. But for Disney, this is totally backfired on them. People, and unfortunately, often what it does is it makes people think about, right? Which is, I think, some of what you guys want to do. But sometimes when you make people think about it, it creates division that wasn't there otherwise. For a company like Disney that's trying to market to a general audience, you've now taken on these people that did not have an opinion and didn't care, and they were just like all those people, crazy people on the right. They're just complaining again. And now actually, you're gonna do X or Y.
Okay.
Please, we don't like that. But I could be wrong.
All right, 90%. Once again, 90% of consumers, and you can find this study from US consumers. So you can find this study. 90% of consumers, they prefer to shop with companies that are expression of their values. 75% would refuse a company that supported issues contrary to their beliefs. What we're finding is that consumers are more concerned about the actual policy stance of a corporation or the manufacturer of a product, etc. The vast majority of Americans say we care that these companies are expressions of what we believe. What does that also mean? That also means that there will be some like you who are against that, all right? So what does the company do? Should the company make a decision to say, well, we're just going to stay neutral, even though the consumer is saying, no, we don't want you to stay neutral. Only 11% of consumers say that their companies or companies in America should remain neutral. You're in the minority here, brother, based on the stats.
So and those stats are usually, it's the younger generation. So especially like Gen Z and millennials, they're much more to feel like they want morality as part of the package when they buy something. I would say whether it's totally popular or not, we do need apolitical institutions. We need neutral territories so that people, both left and right, whatever their philosophy, they can come together.
But wait a minute, corporations have been deemed people by the United States Supreme Court so that they could not or would not be defined as neutral territory. That's something
they have the right to do so, but that doesn't change what I feel is their value in the culture.
Let me finish this statement.
Sorry.
You all push that on the conservative side. You all said we want corporations to not have to remain neutral. Now, all of a sudden that the narrative may be antithetical to your conservative beliefs. Now you want corporations to be neutral. Which one do you want?
I want people to be able to freely express, readily express, but as a cultural value.
They can, a corporation can't stop that,
and for just getting along with other people, I would rather that, unless they are dealing with something that is very political in nature, to be very careful about getting into politics or getting into the culture war. Because it's Jeff Foxworthy says, you get into this, it's never gonna work out totally great for you because you're always gonna be making half of the audience.
Who said this? Who said this?
Jeff, that's an old paraphrase of a Jeff Foxworthy.
You're taking advice from Jeff Foxworthy.
On audience expectation and management, yes. Not on humor.
The man who said you might be a redneck if.
Oh yeah, no, totally. I think he's
on,
look.
man.
You can be a redneck and sometimes get something right.
All right, you got to come better than that next time, brother. But listen, I appreciate you being on the show, man. Fun debate.
Oh no, thank you so much. It's my privilege. I love watching your show. You guys always bring up such interesting topics and great guests. So I always learn something. So thank you.
Thank you for that, man. It's been a pleasure having you.